don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
Own attitude towards the possibilities of peace, towards the Soviet Union, towards the course of the Cold War.
Art muscle. It was a way of making me feel that they were a part of me.
You see it on the bridge. Wait, how they get it? If the government had to change the screw in the bridge, they had to shut it down. They got state troopers out there. They got lanes closed. They got their strange machines. How did they get up there?
What up, what up, what up, people's peace and blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Happy Wednesday. I hope all is well. Writers, poets, authors. Much love to all of you. I hope you're good, alive, well. The weekend is upon us. 2 days to go. The weather is a little lenient on us today. I don't know about on y'all end, but I hope you are getting through the week safe. You know what time it is. You know what the day is. I got Sydney in the studio. Do me a solid, like, share, repost, hype. Let the people know that we are on. Without further ado, I give you Miss Sydney Lindquist. Y'all take your notepad out, your drink, your snack, and let's get it.
Hello, everyone. As he just said, my name is Sydney, and I am, first of all, I'm going to talk about two different things today because this week is Shark Week, so I wanted to give a shout out to sharks and how cool they are. And then I'll also talk about wildfires and climate change because that is also something affecting us right now. I'm sure most of us have seen on the news, whether you're in Europe, North America, Canada, even down to South America and Africa, there have been record fires all over the globe right now. And it's really important to talk about because wildfires can be some of the most destructive natural disasters facing people, and they can damage or completely destroy entire communities. It's quite hard to survive fires. So unfortunately, unlike storms where sometimes you can weather it out, most of the time you would want to evacuate if there's a wildfire in your area. But first, I just wanted to talk about sharks a little bit. So I absolutely love sharks. They're one of my favorite animals, and I don't actually talk about them very often. I mostly talk about natural disasters, but sharks are one of my secret passions. Back when I was in high school, I wanted to be a shark biologist, but didn't work out that way. But I still have a deep love for sharks, and I used to work in an aquarium, and we had sharks in-house, and part of my job was actually handling the sharks for the public and educating them about the animals. So because it's Shark Week, I could not resist saying a little something about them because number one, sharks are very misunderstood. They're one of the animals out there that are villainized and often made to, besides like Finding Nemo, they're made to seem like horrible creatures. Case in point, it's the 50th anniversary of Jaws coming out, and there's merchandise everywhere. People know that shark better than the actual sharks that live in the ocean. Whenever people picture sharks, usually people are imagining a great white shark, a tiger shark, a bull shark, you know, the common hammerheads. Maybe if you know the ocean a bit better, like whale sharks and stuff like that. But there are actually over 500 species of sharks, and they range in size from 6 inches, which could fit in your hand, all the way up to, I think it's 63 feet. Let me see, sharks. 46 feet. The whale shark is 46 feet, which is double the length of a great white shark, which is typically around 20 feet. So we have a great variety of really, really cool sharks. Give me 1 second. Hey, guys, go downstairs. Sorry, little children, they love to be loud. My son was listening in because I'm talking about sharks, which he really likes. Anyway, sharks are, we have over 500 species of sharks, and they range from deep in the ocean. They can withstand, some of them can withstand incredible depths, and some of them obviously are shallow species, finding them in bayous and swamps and stuff like that, saltwater ones. And I'd say at least 60% of them don't look like the sharks people think about. They don't have the pointy nose. They're bottom dwellers. Some of them look like stingrays. Some of them have whiskers. And there's a great variety. Some of them are spotted. Some of them are striped. Some of them have like cool blotchy patterns. So yeah, they're not what people usually think about. And contrary to popular belief, sharks are not as dangerous as we think they are. Of course, there are incidences where surfers or swimmers are attacked and killed by a shark, but sharks generally don't actually want to eat us. Sharks are when they bite us, usually they're tasting us to see if we're edible. But if you're a big shark like a great white, a small bite is going to do a lot of damage to our small bodies in comparison to them. So they don't actually actively hunt us. There are really rare occasions where a shark does target people, but it's extremely rare. And as I said, there's 500 species of sharks, and only 6 are known to have attacked and or killed people, which include great white shark, tiger shark, bull shark, the 3 most notable ones. Hammerheads are another, and I forgot what the other ones are, but yeah, they're usually the bigger meat-eating sharks, but a lot of them are completely harmless. The ones that I worked with at the aquarium, I was able to pick them up and hold them. People were able to pet them. They were called swell sharks, and all they would do is kind of hang out at the bottom, and they were really chill. The other thing is another misnomer, a myth about sharks is that they have to keep swimming or they die. Well, this is the case with some sharks because they constantly need to have, like, their gills are solid and don't move. So they have to keep swimming to push oxygen into their bodies. But not all sharks are like that. It's only a few different species, or at least it's just a group of species, but not all of them need to. Some of them are able to pump water over their gills while they're on the sea floor, and usually those are going to be the ones that are like flat. They don't really do much. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool things about sharks, facts about sharks. There's such a diversity of I'm going to call them skills, but adaptations, things that make them able to survive in the ocean. One of the coolest ones I know of, I think it's the Greenland shark. It actually has antifreeze in its blood because it's diving so deep in usually colder waters, Arctic areas. They actually have that in their blood, so their blood doesn't freeze when they're diving. Some sharks are only found at some of the deepest depths. I think there's one that actually glows. And then there's also another shark that's actually pink. So it's definitely worth looking into the different species that exist beyond the ones that we always picture, because there's some really cool creatures out there that a lot of people don't know about. And all the ones you see on TV are kind of boring in comparison to what some of the animals can showcase. One of my favorite things to talk about with sharks is that they have a line. It's called a lateral line. You can actually see it on most sharks, where it's basically tiny little pores down their body filled with oil. And it's basically how they pick up on electrical signals from animals around them that they're hunting, or predators. They also have a bunch on their face. If you look at a close-up of a shark's face, you'll see freckles all over their nose and mouth. That is so they're able to detect the life force, if you will, of creatures that are around them that are potential prey or predators. And I don't know if it works on all sharks, but I know I've seen it done on a lot of bigger sharks. If you put your hands over their nose, which if you're not an expert, please don't try this at the beach. I would say at home, but I don't think anyone has sharks at home. But if you cover their face, where the freckles are, you can actually like override their sensory system and put them into like a tonic-like state, almost like a hypnosis type state, because their sensory system is so overloaded. That's why if you do get attacked by a shark, God forbid you don't, you punch them in the nose, because that will stun them enough to not want to deal with you because it's painful to them. So yeah, if you are getting attacked by a shark, go for the nose, go for the eyes, go for the gills. Those are the spots that they don't like. And have peace that only about 6 people per year actually die from shark attacks. You can compare that to 600 people are killed every year by hippos. So you're safer with sharks than you are with hippos. And likely the ones you'll encounter are small anyways, so even if you got bit, it would not be that bad. Not saying that you want to get bit by a shark anyways. But a second aspect to sharks that I must mention is if you find a shark on the beach, do not try and handle it. One thing you can do, but I would highly suggest against it, just because you aren't really going to be prepared to handle. You don't know how flexible it's going to be, but you can grab it by the tail and pull it back into the ocean. But I would only suggest doing that if it's like really close, and maybe throw a towel over their head. That way they can't reach around and bite you. But if it's a bigger shark or one you're not comfortable touching, wrap wet towels around their body. That way they can stay moist and they're more likely to survive. And also with bigger sharks, you would want to run seawater through their gills. So like take buckets or something. And then obviously call either Coast Guard or a wildlife center based on your location. And then lastly, there are 500 species of sharks and an estimated, let's see, how many? Have, okay, that doesn't help me. 400 million? No, is that, let's see. Oh, that's how, so another cool fact, they've been around for 500 million years, and sharks are actually older than trees. So that one's a pretty cool fact. Let's see, 100. I can't find the number for the number of sharks that are in the ocean. It's probably very hard to estimate. But in general, there's millions of sharks in the ocean. And unfortunately, most of them are threatened. We have put a lot of them in danger. Give me 1 second. Let me grab somebody. Someone woke up. Maybe they want to hear about sharks. So they sharks. Where was I? Oh yeah. So we have millions of sharks out there, but unfortunately, in the past, I think decade or so, we found that about 31 ocean species are at a extinction level risk. Most oceanic sharks and rays have declined by 71% because of an 18-fold increase in relative fishing pressure. Another way sharks are killed off, unfortunately, there's actually a lot. For all the 6 people that sharks kill, we kill about 100 million of them every year. And most of it is for shark products. Shark meat is consumed in a lot of regions. Some places it's a staple. Other places it's actually a delicacy. It's often sold under different names to trick people and avoid obviously a lot of places shark fishing is illegal, or at least frowned upon, but it is sold. Shark meat is sold as food. Shark liver oil is another really common one. Sharks have very, very large livers because of the types of foods that they eat, and also the type of creature that they are. And in their liver is oil that is rich in vitamins, and so it's used in a lot of supplements, cosmetics, and medicinal products. A lot of people believe that that liver oil and shark cartilage, which is what comes from their fins, are able to be used to treat illnesses. I've heard some people say that shark meat can actually, or shark products can actually cure cancer, which I promise you that's not true. As cool as that would be, shark meat does not cure cancer, and sharks are not immune to cancer. That is another myth that I've heard. And shark skin is often used like leather. It's called shaw green. It's not super common here. All of these shark products are not super common in the U.S. because it is illegal in the U.S. In most, if not all, states. And so we don't see a lot here, but in other countries, particularly Asia, I think Africa, and probably South America as well, it's very common to get these products. Also, which we all probably know, shark teeth and jaws. Shark teeth is a little bit different because sharks do constantly lose their teeth over time, and so like some people might just collect them from the beach and whatnot, and you're not actually directly hurting sharks, but sometimes they are farmed from sharks that have been killed. So you want to be aware of where people are getting their products, and honestly, just to not encourage the industry overall, not buying those souvenirs, especially when they're souvenir shops. I myself have teeth, but these are fossils, so they're not actually from sharks that were alive when we were. But this one in the middle is, let me double check if you can see that. That one right there is a megalodon tooth, or at least part of one. Don't buy shark products. You'll also want to support policies and laws that protect the ocean, because sharks are a keystone species, which means if we lost sharks, the entire ecosystem would collapse, because they're so much of they're a part of so many different ecosystems and help basically take out the sick and injured fish. They prevent diseases from spreading. They also offer other environmental benefits, just to the creatures around them. A lot of fish are dependent on them for various purposes. I won't get into it because there is a lot, and I don't want to just keep you here listing how sharks are beneficial, but they are immensely important for our various habitats and for the health of our fish populations. So it's quite problematic that we've lost so many sharks in the past, in the recent years, really. As you can tell, I absolutely love sharks. I will definitely have to do another episode, like talking about different types of sharks and different adaptations that they have, because there's so much cool information out there. I absolutely love talking about them. And I was thinking about it, I'm like, it's weird that I haven't actually done an episode on sharks yet, given how much I like them. Fun fact, when I was in my true shark craze, which was around 16 to like college era, I ended up collecting over 44 stuffed sharks because I loved them so much. So yeah, true fan. And I wanted to give them a little bit of attention during Shark Week. There is 3 more days of Shark Week, I believe. So if you're able to get the Discovery Channel, definitely worth watching some of the documentaries, because there's some cool footage out there of shark scientists and shark research and sharks in general. So with that, I will transition to wildfires and climate change, because as I said, this is a big item in the news right now. We have fires that are raging in Canada. Whatever. No, because Grandma's in there. So right now, in Canada, the wildfires are so bad that the smoke is actually causing colored orange skies on the East Coast, New York area, a lot of the eastern U.S. So it's been pretty intense. Even here in California, certain areas have been having really smoky skies. Colored sunsets where you get like the bright orange. So yeah, there's been a lot going on right now. Let me see how many acreage. I know for the past 5 years, each season, with exception I think of 2022, has been worse than the next in terms of acreage. But one thing that they found recently in a recent study is that even though the fires are kind of burning more, they're burning less forest, I think it was, which I thought was really interesting and made me wonder if it's partially because we've lost so much forest that the fires aren't able to, they're getting really bad, but they're not as widespread. And I do wonder if that's because how much forest we've taken out and how much fires have damaged forests already. Let me look at Canada alone, because Canada is one of the places that is kind of an indicator of what's to come, because it's already a fragile ecosystem, given that it teeters on the edge of being frozen and not being frozen. And so when you increase the temperatures of the planet by enough, when you raise the temperature enough, it's going to start changing the overall climate. You're going to start seeing, because when you have a baseline temperature, an expected baseline temperature, and then you add heating on top of it, then you're going to end up getting a new baseline, because now more of your days are going to get hotter, and so then you're going to end up with more melting, more earlier melting, stuff like that. And so places like the permafrost, the Arctic, Canada, Russia, these are all good indicators of what other communities are going to start seeing as the temperatures increase. And as I was saying, the wildfires are getting extremely intense. I keep saying Canada because that's the one that's like fresh in my mind, but I know it's going on in other parts of the world. And it's partially connected to the fact that we are having record heat waves as well. Because one of the things about trees is that when they heat up, if they get hot enough, they start drying out, but they all, which I'll explain why that's a problem in a bit. But they also sometimes switch from producing oxygen to taking in oxygen to try and cool themselves down and fix their what's happening inside their plant body. And the other reason why the heat waves are so damaging to trees is because they suck all the moisture out of the tree and make them highly flammable. There's some trees that are so dry that like a lightning strike is enough to make the tree explode. And a lot of the trees in these areas have a sap in it, and sap not only is able to get extremely hot and contribute to burning, but it also is in some cases flammable or possibly explosive, in the sense that if you have sap inside the tree and it heats up, it'll expand and the tree will literally explode as it catches on fire. It can also happen with lightning strikes, but having the sap inside the trees, think like pine trees, eucalyptus. Eucalyptus is also pretty bad because they actually give off a flammable fume above the trees, and so their wildfires can actually burn the air above the trees, and that contributes to the spread of these wildfires because you have literal burning air and then you get a wind and it'll blow it to the next stands of trees and onto houses. Wildfires in Australia are particularly fast moving, especially if it's a crown fire where the fire has reached the air, basically, where it crowns above the top of the trees. Because there are different types of wildfires. We obviously probably think of the like California style fires where it's just the whole hillside is on fire. But there are some cases where fires will actually burn underground, where if you have a lot of leaf litter and vegetation that has died and kind of collected at the base of the trees, and it sometimes in areas that can be very deep, like feet deep, it can actually burn underground. And so you can actually I've seen some cool videos of fires burning underground, and it kills the trees above them because they're like burning the roots and stuff like that. But yeah, there's fires that will actually follow burn under the vegetation, and those particular fires can burn unnoticed for months or possibly years. While not a forest fire, I think it's Pennsylvania. It's either like Pennsylvania or Virginia. They have a coal seam that's been burning for like at least a decade. I think it's probably even been longer, like 20 years or so. But the seam of coal was set on fire by a lightning strike, and it has been burning ever since. Like there's no way for them to put it out because it's coal on fire, and it's such a big area. So yeah, wildfires can take different forms, but most commonly it's the one that is burning the hillside. Obviously tree fires are worse than grass fires because they reach higher into the air, they're able to get hotter, they're able to travel faster, and they have more to burn, so they're able to get more powerful, more strong. And it is, for trees, it's also problematic because it can bring the fire up over houses and drop embers, burning pieces of the tree onto their roof. And this is why they always encourage people around wildfire season, if you are, if there's, what's the term? Wildlife interface, I think that's the word, where you have nature basically on the perimeter of your home. You're more at risk if you are edged up against the forest, and it can basically jump from the forest to your house. And so if you have wildfires in your area, one, you have to sweep your roof. Like, make sure to get that roof cleaned, the gutter cleaned, everything like that, because that plant matter, dead, dry leaves, twigs, sticks, all that stuff, highly flammable. So if there is a potential for a fire, clean your roof, because you don't want your roof catching on fire. If the roof catches on fire, there's not much you can do, because the way the fire physics work, it'll destroy your house pretty fast. With grass fires, they're not, as I said, they're not as dangerous, because, not saying they aren't dangerous, but they aren't as bad as tree fires, because obviously it's closer to the ground and they're not as hot, and so it might like lap against the house, but oftentimes those are easier to put out, like for the homeowners to put it out, for the firefighters to put it out, and it'll be easier to protect your home from those. Make sure that if you're in a grassy, meadowy area without the trees, you still keep that in mind, wildfires in mind, because it can still affect you. All it takes is a wind that is unhelpful, and obviously a source of ignition. Most wildfires, unfortunately, are started by people. A lot of the other ones are caused by lightning. And when I say people, I include campfires, car backfiring, like people-related things, power lines messing up. But yeah, most of them are caused by humans and human infrastructure. But others are caused by lightning, and I feel like there's another way, but yeah, lightning is the big one. Spontaneous combustion can happen in rare circumstances, but it's not typical at all. It's not going to be something that you'd have to worry about yet. However, with climate change, as we reach the baseline, or as we raise the baseline, it might actually get to a point where spontaneous combustion is possible. This is actually something that farm workers need to keep in mind, farm owners, because with hay and manure, it can actually become incredibly hot. Like, I think I saw one person stick a thermometer into a manure pile, and it was like 150 degrees or more. So there have been cases of like spontaneous combustion in superheated vegetation, but at least and so with the temperature raising because of climate change, it could potentially have that happen more, but that's my speculation. It's not something that I've actively read about, so I don't know if there's some part of the physics that I'm missing, but that is something that I've wondered about, if the increased temperatures will increase the likelihood of the fires just kind of starting on their own, because that would not be fun. But another reason why wildfires and climate change are so intertwined is because of the effects the wildfire itself has on the atmosphere. It's often a feedback loop. There was a time when we had extremely high oxygen levels in our atmosphere, and oxygen feeds fires. And during the period, I don't remember the time period, but it was millions of years ago. I think it was in the Precambrian or Cambrian era, which was like hundreds of millions of years ago. Anyway, there's so much oxygen in the atmosphere. I think it was like 30% compared to like 12% now. I don't remember exactly. They had, or the Earth had wildfires that were lasting like years or decades, because they would burn so easily, and continue to burn so easily. So obviously we're going in the opposite direction, where our oxygen balance is tipping more towards carbon dioxide. But that is one way, like the atmosphere and wildfires are related. Like the composition of the atmosphere does affect how wildfires behave. Okay, I'm going downstairs. Okay. And yeah, so the composition of the atmosphere has an effect on the planet's temperature, and then the smoke, the particulates, also have an impact on the climate as well, because when you have higher particulate matter in the atmosphere, it allows more heat to be held in the atmosphere and in the lower parts of the atmosphere. Since the dust is more, I don't know if conductive is the right word, but it can absorb more heat more easily, and also like it holds in heat. It can add to the increased temperatures of the region that is being affected. Not to mention, when you add with wildfires, the what do you call it? The haze that the fires cause, the smoke, it's incredibly bad for your health. There are days that the government will issue warnings like do not go outside, do not do strenuous exercises outside, do not like go hiking and stuff like that, because I keep saying particulates, but the dust entering your lungs can cause a lot of problems. It can release certain funguses. It's going to obviously release, it's the same with smoking, how it coats your lungs, coats the little sacs that help exchange oxygen in your lungs. And it increases the health risk to people, particularly people that have existing conditions, lungs, heart, other areas of the body that are kind of affected by your breathing. And it's, what was I going to say? It is, it makes it unsafe for people to go outside, even if they are not in the proximity of the fire. You could be far away, but still have the negative effects of the pollution being added to the environment. Also, the wildfires themselves release carbon dioxide and sometimes methane, depending on what is being burned. So it adds more of the thing that is raising the temperature of our planet. So that's really the biggest component to this, why wildfires are so damaging to our progress against climate change, which we really haven't been making much of, sadly. Um, but we're basically helping the earth add more carbon dioxide to the environment, which obviously it's going to help make the earth warmer, and that's going to cause more wildfires. Another issue, which is not directly linked to climate change, but with increased climate change, fires are going to increase. So this problem will increase on top of the added pressures. Wildlife loss. A lot of these wildfires can be so dangerously quick and hot that typical ways that animals use to escape the flames are not useful to them. Some animals will bury themselves underground, but it can be so hot that it literally burns into the ground or superheats the ground enough to kill whatever is underneath. You can also have animals that typically outrun fires, not being able to run fast enough to get away. Some animals that live in trees burn in their homes. There's some animals that are fireproof in certain ways. And even that is not enough to protect them sometimes if the fire is the most severe. And another another living thing that's going to be affected is us, because if the fires are going faster, burning hotter, we don't have as much time to prep the community and get the community out. And a lot of remote regions that are kind of up in the mountains are the most at risk because, number one, they might not get as much of a warning. They might be like right where the ignition spot is, and they often have slightly poor communications. And they also, as in the case of the campfire up in, why am I forgetting the name? Paradise, California. They had gridlock as people were trying to flee their little town, and a lot of people burned in their cars trying to get out. If you live in small communities like that, oftentimes it's fed by a single road or just two roads. And if you have all of the people in town trying to flee with fire all around you, it can lead to more deaths than necessary. Another aspect to what climate change does to wildfires, besides increasing temperatures, besides drying the vegetation, it makes droughts last longer. And when you have droughts lasting longer, you have more drying for longer periods of time. You also have the opportunity to have hotter air temperatures, which can increase your risk of having fires start and continue. Because if it is hot enough, it can help sustain fires and cause fire behavior. Fires, big enough wildfires can actually cause their own weather patterns and sustain themselves. I'm not sure if anyone has seen the video in what part of California was it? I think it was up north. A year or two ago, they had a fire whirl, which is a tornado caused during a wildfire from the air currents. And it, give me 15 minutes. Go downstairs. I'll be up there. Go. The fire whirl is caused by basically rising hot air pulling in cold air, and it causes like the rotation similar to what you get in tornadoes, just not as powerful. The one that I'm referencing was, I think they said probably category 2. I think it had like 90 to 100 mile an hour winds. Fire whirls aren't super common, but they are possible with a lot of larger um, wildfires because of the capacity for that fire to kind of change the weather around it. And just like tornado, it's I guess it's more more like a dust devil, but it still can have the intensity of a tornado with the wind speed, I should say. But yeah, that is another component to wildfires that can increase damage. I don't actually know what the relationship between climate change and fire whorls are, but I imagine just from what I know that they probably would become more common with climate change because of the turbulence of the atmosphere. Warmer air, warmer atmospheric conditions enable air to move around faster. Same concept as like when you're boiling water, as it heats up, it starts to move around more, churn up more. It's kind of the same aspect where as we warm the planet, we're going to have a lot more tumultuous currents in our atmosphere, and it's eventually going to turn into crazier swings in weather, big changes between like one day it'll be super, super hot, and then the next couple days it'll be freezing. We're going to see a lot more of those types of conditions, which can, again, contribute to wildfire conditions and the severity of what happens. Higher wind speeds allow the wildfire to travel faster. And so if it's able to more easily control the weather, it is not going to be good. And then also that turbulence in the atmosphere adds to the unpredictability of where wildfires will end up going. And so you might end up seeing wildfires acting in ways that they've never seen before or would never expect. Also, just something I'll throw out there that I just thought of. Interestingly, wildfires and forest fires are one of the things that can basically defy physics. Wildfires travel faster uphill than they do going downhill because heat rises. And so it's going to rise up with the hills and then travel slightly slower down hills. But yeah, the turbulence in the atmosphere caused by the warming is going to cause changes in the behavior of the wildfires that we're seeing around the world. The fact that I mentioned earlier, I just found that article that I was looking for. So the wildfires aren't as big, but they're getting more frequent and more damaging. So we are seeing a slight decrease in the size of them, but we're still having more of them. So yeah, that was that fact that I was trying to remember earlier. So one other aspect is when you have hot air. This kind of goes along with what I was saying about the trees earlier. An atmosphere that is very warm is also very good at sucking moisture out of the ground. This aspect has been a key component of the risk and extent of wildfires, particularly in the western U.S., because low humidity can help contribute to the lack of moisture in fuels, which include trees, grasses, stuff like that. And they also are going to be impacted directly by climate change because a hotter planet is also going to have higher humidity because you're going to have increased evaporation and more water in the air. That's also why we see increased rainstorms and snowfall just in shorter periods of time, because everything is hotter, but you're also going to have a lot more moisture in the atmosphere. And with the way precipitation works, very, very simply, the more it collects in the air, the heavier it gets, it'll eventually fall back down. And if you have hotter temperatures, you have more of that in the air. And so when it finally falls out of the sky, you're going to have a lot more of it, a lot more rain, a lot more snow. But when the heat comes, then all of that just evaporates away. So that's why you can have extremely severe storms and incredible amounts of snow and record-breaking precipitation, but then simultaneously be followed up by absolutely record-breaking droughts. So it affects both ends of the spectrum, and both of those ends of the spectrum contribute to each other. I believe, if I remember correctly, wildfires can actually cause weather in other locations because of the cloud creation and stuff that they're releasing. But I don't quite remember if that's exactly how it was discussed. But yeah, that is something that would be interesting if we see more storms because of increased wildfires. But again, that's more speculation, just one of my curiosities. But yeah, since 1984, we've doubled the number of large fires. And from 2015 on, almost, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but the years were worse every single year, or almost every single year. We've been seeing an increase in fire weather, which is the type of conditions that make it easy for wildfires to form and spread. Most impactful would be hot winds, kind of like the Santa Ana winds. They are very dry, hot winds that blow inland, or they can blow inland. And if you have that type of fire weather, those types of conditions, it can allow a fire to spread very, very quickly once it starts, because the air is dry, the air is hot, it's already conducive to a fire, and you also have those added winds dragging the fire across the land. So during Santa Ana time periods, which is, it affects us in California, towards October, I think, is when it really peaks. You can see some pretty nasty fires if the Santa Ana winds are moving in the right direction. So from 2020 to 2022, all 3 years surpassed an average of 1.2 million acres burned since 2016. And this type of behavior with the fires is even surprising experts. Wildfire managers, climate scientists, I've been seeing a lot of conjecture about how much more severe this was than they expected. They thought that these conditions that we are currently living in, including wildfires, including thunderstorm or storms in general, hurricanes, tornadoes, whatever, the changes that we've seen in the land, the melting of permafrost, all of these glaciers, all of these important aspects that help us monitor what the climate is looking like and are, as they call, indicators, they are all surprised by how bad it is. And a lot of them have been saying, we shouldn't have had this until like 2050 or even later. So what we are seeing right now is absolutely unprecedented. Scientists that are more moderate, that I've watched for years, are now switching their tunes and are saying, like, this is dangerous. This is not just a problem that is for the future. Like, this is a now problem. This is something that is going to affect us, our children, our grandchildren, and it's looking more and more like we're kind of locked into these changes and increases in all of these impacts. We are obviously the drivers responsible for over half of the decreased moisture content in forests between 1979 and 2015. We've also had a doubling of forest fire burned between 1984 and 2015, and projections show that a 1 degree temperature increase would increase the median burned area per year by as much as 600% in some types of forests. In the southeastern U.S., which has also been seeing unprecedented fires in areas that have never seen fire before, New Jersey and Georgia and Florida, they're saying that the fire risk, and they're also seeing longer seasons, with a 30% increase in 2011 in the area burned by lightning strikes. And that side note, lightning strikes are also more likely in a warmer world because the molecules in the atmosphere are moving faster. They're going to run into each other more, and the atoms and stuff running into each other is what causes the static electricity that end up causing lightning. So even in that sense, climate change is going to increase the likelihood of wildfires starting because of the lightning itself. So there is a lot of connections between wildfires and climate change. And we are going to see a classic example of what a warmer world is going to look like this year, because we, as I've said in previous episodes, are in an El Nino year. An El Nino year increases because of the currents in the ocean. It kind of flip-flops from what it usually is. And instead of the ocean being cooler than normal, the ocean is actually hotter than normal. And when you have a hotter ocean, you have a hotter atmosphere. When you have a hotter atmosphere, you have higher weather risks. You have droughts in certain locations because, as I said, if you take more moisture from the soil, it's going to go into the atmosphere, and somewhere else, they're going to be getting more rain. So with the baseline being even more hot than usual because of this El Nino, I can almost guarantee that we're going to see some absolutely record-breaking fires this year and into next year because of the impacts of this El Nino. It is very dangerous. I'm not going to lie. Like, not only to the people that are in those areas that are seeing those wildfires in their backyards, anybody living within the smoky areas are going to be impacted. Our agriculture is going to be impacted because some of it will burn into farmlands. Our homes and our infrastructure is going to be affected by these wildfires because of, one, certain areas are going to get destroyed and they're going to have to rebuild, and we already don't have enough houses for everybody. Also, when there are wildfires, one of the problems that I'm very sore about is when wildfires burn out a community, the insurance adjusters come in and adjust what the value of the land is. And oftentimes, especially in older communities, their land value has increased just because of the overall increase in prices of everything. And oftentimes people who lost their homes, who were burned out of their communities, can't actually return to the house that they grew up in or the plot of land that they grew up on because the insurance companies have made it too expensive for them to move back in. not to mention the fact that it was affected by a wildfire, so the risk increases, and with risk increases, you get price increases. So it affects communities, and sometimes you can lose. I think with the campfire, it was either campfire or Altadena. Only about 1% of people who lived there before were able to move back in, and I think that's absolutely terrible. You lose your community, and then, or you lose your house, then you possibly lose family members, and then you lose your entire community. That's so horrific to have to go through. So it is very, very problematic to even the social structure of our communities, like the social ties, and it forces more people to move to the cities, and it also makes it so companies are able to get more access to our properties. A lot of these companies buy up the land that were affected by wildfires, and it's lost to people that are or have been living there for decades. Altadena itself, I think it burned in 2021 or two, possibly later. They were a historically Black community that had been there since before the 1940s. And a developer came in and wants to buy up the land, and it would push most of these people out of their space. So that's something that I've been really bothered by. One of the repercussions. So I'm looking for it right now. I wanted to end with a poem. I always like ending with a poem, especially on more serious topics, because it's pretty dark. Can be a pretty heavy topic, and so I like to read something slightly more positive. And also, one of the reasons why I haven't really talked about this before, but one of the reasons why I really like to write poetry about climate change and things affecting our society right now is because I think we're so, like, people jump on us with facts all the time. We have people that just like throw all these like numbers at you and statistics and all sorts of stuff like that. But I've realized that people don't really respond to logic in a sense. Like they hear the facts and they're like, wow, that's crazy. But then they move on because it doesn't affect you. There's no connection made between this is what we're seeing right now in the world, and this is how you're going to see it in your world today. Like scientists are fantastic at finding out all of these facts and figures about the earth and what's happening and how bad it is. They're not very good at translating it into real world advice and connections. And so that's why I really like writing this poetry, because I think it's a really good way to put it in perspective and allow somebody to visually see the very impacts that people now are going through. So I wrote this poem. I wrote it specifically about the fires in Altadena, I believe, but I think generally it's just about wildfires in general, and being in a community affected by one. So this one is called Burning Cities. Red skies, red trucks, red houses, orange spray douses, red faces, cowering within vicious smoke. They awoke, unknowing, under glowing thunderous rain. They choke on a poisonous plight in the future footprints of blackened stains. Windows letting in empty hoses as heat-filled clouds blow in, saturated with orange lights, blinking with audible fright. Alarms sound out as the gutsy cry out, as hot woolen snow alights and runs with the rage of a broken sun. As flames singe brows, despite fears aroused, glowing pupils like Hecarim stare as rows and rows grow dim. Those restrained in panic, now forced to reckon, now staged in a manic, with skeletal structures that used to be peace, they used to be home. In crosshairs, now stuck there, there is no reason, no why. There is no oxygen, no sky. There is only hell in eyes. It only comes, sprawling, crawling, like red dragons and demons. It comes, it roams, dragging its hot-blooded feet, jumping and buckling across city streets, block by block, no stop, no faith, no one there to save. It is too big to stop. It is too hot for drops. Behind, red lines, red zones, red embers touching, exploding trees and grasses as if made of gases. Heating, baking, growing perimeters, tracing and taking, safe spaces and beloved places, popping caps for life-saving races that no one signed up for. Those slow, those below, those who do not know, bend and bow as fractious light steals the souls from those who behold the wrath of an unfettered God. As the ash unclimbs from the lofty ribbons in an atmosphere thickened, there in place agape, soot faces, standing still as volcanic stone, only there to remember, only there to pick up the pieces. Communities with history stolen, families broken, now permeated with singed skins of psychological embers and hymns that will rampage through cities with hot, heartbroken memories like vampire sunlight, undying for generations. Even as the black patchwork forests are consuming the last carbon fragments of doorsteps and walls, the headstones and the wind blows remind us of all those we lost, to the red skies in the red hero trucks within red little houses. Empty lots and missing blocks remind of the day we had our hearts burned away. So I want to put my heart out to anyone affected by the wildfires. I can't imagine having to go through that experience and just the harrowing stories I've heard of people escaping from their burning cities and burning homes. I just pray for everyone, and that even though these wildfires are going to be really bad, that they don't spread into homes and areas where people are living, because nobody deserves that. That is an absolute tragedy. One thing I wanted to mention before I'm done, there is a app that I absolutely love to use. Why am I blanking on the name? Fire, what is it? It is an app for watch duty. That's what it's called. It's the app used by the fire department to track wildfires that are nearby, the containment of wildfires, the locations that are under evacuation, and notes about the fire and what's happening. I highly recommend that to anyone wanting to track wildfires in the US. I think it just works in the US, but it might work in other countries, and it's just not on my phone right now. But just to give you kind of a idea of what's going on right now, all of the gray fires are ones that are being contained, but all of the red fires are ones that are active. And I'm not even showing the opposite side of the US. It's only going to be up to like Nebraska and Texas and stuff. But look, oh my God, that's not showing up. Let's see. Those are all the wildfires that are going on right now, all over. And that's not even counting Canada and everywhere else. But yeah, watch duty. If you live in areas where you could possibly be affected by wildfires, or you have family members that are, super useful app. I think it also has alerts. So if you're in a certain area, it'll give you warnings. So I highly recommend it. And then if you are affected by wildfires, you lose your stuff, you lose everything. Make sure there's a lot of charities out there that help donate clothes, food, shelter, shoes, all kinds of stuff. So if you are affected by wildfires, try and find like a community center or a church, and they should be able to connect you to a lot of these resources, so you don't have to feel like you have to replace everything on your own. Seek your communities if this happens to you, because it's going to be a recovery process. It is deeply traumatizing to go through a fire. I saw my friend's house burn down, and I was younger, obviously, but it did cause a lot of mental trauma at the time, because a lot of fear, phobia, and that was just seeing what a fire does to a home. If your community is affected, it's going to have a toll on you, and you're not going to forget. So do know that there are resources out there for you. Seek out people. Don't try and go through it alone. It is, again, a deeply traumatizing process, and you deserve to be surrounded by people that can support you and find ways to help you. Don't be ashamed. It's not your fault. And other than that, if there are fires in your area, make sure you prep your home. Cut away any loose vegetation, dry vegetation, have your trees trimmed, get them away from your roof. Clean off your roof, get all those leaves off, and make sure that you don't have like vegetation up to the walls of your house. Also, if a fire is nearby, spraying off your roof can help. But if you get an evacuation warning to go now, to get out, please follow the directions. They're not just going to fearmonger you. They're telling you because they want to make sure that you have enough time to get out. And if you wait too long, you might be stuck in traffic. You might be unable to get out because the road is already like on fire or damaged. So if you get an evacuation warning, please do it. It will save your life. It's better to be wrong. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed both the topics that I got to talk about today. I'll definitely revisit sharks again because obviously I love them, and I just would love to talk about how cool they are in general. And other than that, I will be back on Friday. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Check out Shark Week on Discovery. I'm not sponsored. I just love it. And yeah, I hope you guys have a fantastic Wednesday. Did you want to say goodbye?
Yes.
You want to say goodbye?
Bye.
Say thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Own attitude towards the possibilities of peace, towards the Soviet Union, towards the course of the Cold War.
Our muscle. It was a way of making me feel that they were a part of me.
You see it on the bridge. Wait, how they get it? If the government had to change the screw in the bridge, they had to shut it down. They got state troopers out there. They got lanes closed. They got their strange machines. How did they get up there?